Hello, my name is Kate Finger and I'm a Research and Extension Officer here at the Birchip Cropping Group.
This is the 2021 in-season update for the soil amelioration sites at Netherby and Lubeck. The season this year has got off to a bit of a slow start. It's been quite dry in the lead up to sowing, and the breaking rains didn't arrive until late May. June had a bit of rainfall. July, as it seems to be the trend now, was dry, and we did get some good rain in August and September to help get the crop through to the end of harvest. It's meant that we've had to be on the lookout for a little bit of disease pressure as well as a few insects. It's also meant that our nitrogen will need to be spot on so that we can reach the yield potential that we're aiming for, which is around that 4.5 to 5 tonne. At the trial sites, we have been undertaking a number of assessments. We started off with doing some plant emergence counts to make sure the crop was coming up and establishing well, but also to make sure that we were picking up any treatment differences that will be occurring. Later in the season, we flew the drone to look at the NDVI imaging of each plot, which is essentially measuring the greenness of the crop or how thick the canopy is. At flowering, we undertook biomass cuts to measure overall plant biomass and see if the treatments were having any effect. And later in the season, after harvest has occurred, we'll be looking at grain yield, as well as quality parameters including protein, moisture, retention and screenings, as well as test weights. At Lubeck, the treatments involve ripping to a depth of 30 centimetres and non-ripping with amendments including a control, chicken manure with a rice hull base spread at 20 tonnes per hectare, and clay treatments at both 200 and 300 tonnes per hectare. You can see from the images the impact of deep ripping on crop establishment still remains even in the third year of this trial, with visibly thinner plots where ripping occurred during crop establishment. It highlights how important sowing depth is for good crop establishment and how much impact ripping can have on getting this placement right. While not having a big impact on establishment, the other treatments did have an impact on flowering biomass. Chicken manure at 20 tonnes a hectare had the largest effect, with visually more tillering occurring, and this is likely due to the greater variability of nutrients. At the Netherby site, the treatments involved non-ripping and ripping to a depth of 30 centimetres, with amendments including a control, clay at 100 and 200 tonnes per hectare, as well as 3 varying rates of fertiliser and 3 varying rates of duck manure. The Netherby site also showed ripping had an impact on plant establishment, although it was not as significant as what occurred at Lubeck. As with Lubeck, it was also found that the impact of ripping on plant establishment was not carried through to crop biomass production in the spring. Treatments that resulted in better crop growth were those that supplied nutrients that the crop needed, such as manure and fertiliser treatments. The next thing we'll be looking at is whether the impacts noted will carry through to harvest, as this is where economic outcomes can be assessed. Keep an eye out for our Harvest 2021 video to find out what eventuated of these trials.